We are live. Okay, let's go. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to jump straight into the webinar. Thank you, David, for joining us today. I'll give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and let everybody know about you a little bit later. All right, so today we're covering off on two different areas, and we're actually going to take you through a real life client case study. And David will be covering off on the areas of business, knowing your break-even point, understanding your numbers, and planning for growth. And I will be covering off on the marketing side of things. We're talking about the right pipelines, metrics of what's working and what's not, and also planning for growth for the next stage. So we'll jump straight in. David, I'd love to hand over to you to let everybody know a little bit more about you. Please.
Thanks, Michelle. My name's David. I run a business called Launch Commercial Solutions. It's a business I started a few years back now. I've got experience in major corporates and worked for multinationals and a lot of different businesses, large and a lot of different industries as well. And what I've found over the time is many businesses make the same mistakes. They don't know how to plan. If they do plan, they don't implement them, and they keep rolling over their to-do list until the next phase of their planning cycle. Bigger businesses can absorb that. Smaller businesses, however, if you don't plan, you don't move forward. And if you don't have a strategic plan, definitely, you don't know where you're taking your business. My background is with, I'm a qualified accountant and a fellow of CPA Australia. So I come at looking at business with a commercial focus. And Michelle and I work really well together. We've worked on a couple of clients now. We focus on two different facets. I focus on the commercial side, and Michelle obviously does the marketing. You can't market a business that isn't making a profit. And that's why we work well together, because we tandem, we draw off each other and we make sure the business is successful.
Fantastic. Thank you, David. And for those of you who don't know me, so I've been running businesses now across several industries for 13 years. And David's absolutely right. I've just found over and over that, the first question we ask is where are you now and where would you like to be? So that we can work out what marketing strategies and campaigns are going to get you there. However, we found that a lot of businesses just were busy running their businesses, but weren't really sure on the numbers. So that's why David and I have worked together well, and why we're putting together this webinar to really just take you through as well our processes. So let's get started. So today we're going to talk about a real life case study. Now, the interesting thing, it is a training company, and I just want to let you know that initially this company was given over to me from another business coach, business advisor. So David and I have talked a lot about this, and I'm really, he will share his insights into it, which is fantastic. But let's set the scene for all of you. Now, as I mentioned, this was a company, training company. When we first arrived in, they were turning over just $5,000 per month. The coach at the time, the request of us from a marketing perspective was, can you please give us 15 more people for group bookings per month? Okay, so they had private training, they had private one-on-one group, as well. So they wanted another 15 more per month. They had a team of 3 full-time and casual trainers, a mixture. They wanted to develop a leverage system for their online products so they could sell more. They wanted to move people. They had one set of training and they wanted to move them to the next round of training so that they increase their lifetime value. They wanted to expand into new markets, that was actually into new locations. But the most important thing about all of this was every month, the same sentence kept coming from the business owner's mouth. And that was, I'm absolutely exhausted, I'm depleted, I'm working so hard, and I never seem to have any money left at the end of the month. So after 12 years, she was really questioning, what do I have to show for all of this? Because I never seem to get ahead. And this was where David and I, we talked a lot about this, because I needed to know from that financial point of view, what the hell was going wrong here. So David, I'm going to head over to you to the very first most important point.
Yeah, the first thing, because of that phrase that they continually use, the question I asked was, what's a break even? So the break even point is all about knowing how much money you need to generate to keep your business alive. And that's not making a profit, not making a loss, but just having enough revenue where you can offset your expenses. So if you just click that, Michelle. So you've got to know your break-even point, and you've got to know how much revenue you need to generate to make your business balanced. And on top of that, then you have to know how much it costs for each sale. So each sale you've got in business, you've got fixed costs, which are your lease and your power costs and things like that, your utilities. But also there's incremental costs, I call them, which are the additional costs every time you have a product to sell. What's the additional costs you incur? And that's where you've got to understand that, so you come to your break-even point. Now, for this particular business, they actually needed more than the 15 to make more of a profit. The 15 didn't cut it for them, and it was still below the threshold they needed to be at. So they need to know, moving on to know your business, what products are you selling? And again, this business was a bit unclear about what products they were selling. For example, and it comes a lot to value in the market. What can you sell something for? So for example, they were trying to sell an ebook for $45, but the value in the people in the market, most people get ebooks for free as part of a lead generator. So they weren't selling much of that, and it wasn't a quality publication anyway. So they had to, focus on their core products. What is the highest volume product you sell? And what I mean by that is, what's the thing you sell the most of? And normally the thing you sell the most of is the lowest return, the lowest margin on that. Not in all cases, but because it's a low price product, a lot of people will buy it, which means that you don't make much on it. Which conversely, with the highest margin product, so what is your highest margin product that you have? And in saying that, it's the one that makes you the most money. So how do you get people from the highest volume product into your highest margin product? How do you move up the stages? Or how do you just sell that highest margin product and try to remove the lowest one? And what product is your business reliant on to survive? Every business has one or two products that they are reliant on to survive, that generates most of the cash flow, that generates enough profit where you can break even and move forward. So you've got to understand that in your business. Now, again, these people wanted to make more money, and they didn't understand their break even, and they didn't understand the average cost and the average price per customer. So when a customer comes through your door, what's the average price that they will pay? And what is the cost of providing that service or that good to that customer? And then as we move on, then you've got to understand your primary drivers. So knowing your numbers is quite important in every business. So what are your primary drivers? And in saying that, I mean about KPIs. So every business is different. There will be similarities. Obviously, you want to keep profit levels up. You want to keep your turnover up. But what are the primary non-financial KPIs in your business? So, for example, if you were a courier company, it would be the number of kilometers traveled or the fuel consumed. In this particular business, it was all about staffing. And staffing was over 50% of their cost base. Now that's quite high. It should be around 25 to 30% in normal businesses, depending on the industry you're in. But that's sort of a benchmark level to be at. You've got to understand your capacity. Again, this particular business, when they asked Michelle or asked us to go and increase their volume by 15 people per month, the question was asked, can you cope with that? And they said, yeah, no problem at all. Within a week or within 2 weeks, they were saying, oh, hang on a minute, we've got to start recruiting. We need more people on board. They didn't understand what their capacity actually was. Know where you want to take your business. And this is all about your strategic plan. What does your business look like? It's all well and good saying, oh, I want to earn more money, I want more customers. But ultimately, where are you taking your business to? So what's your grand plan? You know, is it scale-wise? Is it geographic footprint? What does it look like for you to take your business forward? And when you say, hang your hat on it and say, that's exactly what I wanted for my business. So that you don't start to grow, you don't start to fall back, you're just in your happy place where you want it to be. And you've got to get clarity over that so you can start again to plan and create those stepping stones to achieve that. And you know what you need to do to get there and when. And that comes back to knowing your capacity and understanding what triggers you need. So for example, if you are increasing the number of customers, do you need bigger premises? And at what point do you need to grow? What is your trigger point? Do you need more staff? What is your trigger point to bringing those staff on so you're not playing catch up? So that you haven't grown beyond your current capability and you're trying to play catch up then, and then it could impact on the service that you're providing to your current clients because you don't have the facilities to support them.
Very good, very good. And this is all so pertinent because unfortunately this particular owner was asking from a marketing point of view to go into new locations, to expand, you know, the services, etc. However, didn't have a good grasp of all that information. So it made it very difficult really to truly get the results and help them understand where they were and where they were going. So what we always do when we first start with a client, and everybody should really be doing this in their business, is looking at the foundations first, because it tells us the story of where we are and what we really need to do from a strategic marketing point of view. So what we started with here, and I'll run you through the exact things, is we actually took a snapshot first of their current audience. They were using Facebook predominantly. And what was fascinating was that thousands of followers and engaged clients were actually in the 18 to 24 mark. Now, the reason why this was the case was because pretty much all they were putting up on their page were stupid, funny videos, which is great. However, great for engagement, but actually the customer who they were looking to target to buy their products and services thought it was quite rubbish. Yeah. So what we did straight away is helped them to actually start injecting some educational, interesting information, teaching them how to strategically sell products and services that they actually related to their business. And, you know, to actually start turning around that client. Then we ran some Facebook ads as well, so that they were starting to get the right clients through. So really important that you snapshot what's happening across all your channels. So next, we aligned their branding. Now, they have been around for 12 years, and they believed that they were the leaders in the market. And they were, because the knowledge was phenomenal. However, when you looked at their website, when you looked at any of their marketing, it was very 1980s still. And their colors and their branding, and nothing had changed. So whilst they were proclaiming they were the leaders, it wasn't giving the same message. So very important to align your branding. So what we did was we reshot all the videos, we changed colors on the website, we changed a whole lot of stuff so that it aligned with the new brand positioning. Okay. So next, making the process of buying simple for the customer. One of the big things we noticed from the metrics was that a lot of people were coming and a lot of people were leaving. And we looked at where they were leaving. And look, to be honest, the website has got so much information on it. It just wasn't simple to find what you wanted and to buy. So we made sure that we created a really basic landing page, really basic, which we sent all the ads to, and then it made it really easy for people to buy. And I'm going to actually take you through the results of what happened so you can see the process like from end to end. The last thing, second last thing, we also looked at, they were paying $600 a month for Google AdWords, and they were pretty much getting about $400 revenue as a result of that. So Google Analytics gives us all this information. So, and they were also paying $600 a month for SEO, search engine optimization. However, what we realized when we actually went searching was that they were already ranking first on all the top keywords. So there was really no need to be wasting that money on the AdWords or on the SEO. So that saved them $1,400 a month, and which we reinvested into Facebook advertising, which gave them the return anyway. So getting those, and the last thing, very importantly, they had a cheap ass friend running Facebook ads for them. She was a 12-year-old. And of course, they were wasting money because she was targeting, again, the 18 to 65 plus mark. Let's just send it out to anyone. The 18-year-olds were the only ones clicking through, which makes me so angry. And as a result, it was just a waste of money. So we always want to make sure that we've got that right and best return on investment as well. So David, I'm going to head over to you again because to talk more about the business execution plan, please.
Yep, no problem at all. I think, we start with a strategic direction, and I've sort of mentioned that earlier, but you need to know where you want your business to be. And if you don't have clarity of that, you don't know what decisions to make today, which will help you to take your business forward. So you need that clarity, you need that 5-year clarity. And I'm not just talking about a nice budget or a financial forecast as to where you'd like to be, but look at it from your business operation. What does that look like? Does it, as I mentioned before, is it geographic footprint? Do you want to be Australia-wide? Do you want to be international? Are you doing online versus offline products, and how are you growing into that? Are you transferring the products from customer business to business to business to consumer, or vice versa? What does it all look like for you? And how are you going to then take today or the next 3 months realistically and put into place the wheel that will start to take you towards that goal and that direction that you want? So without that clarity, you're not going to get anywhere in your business, and you might make the wrong decisions. From that then, once you have your strategic plan, you look at what I call the business execution plan. A business plan, people understand, or they've got the image of a document which has your SWOT analysis, which has competitor analysis, all of that detail in it, which is important, but at the end of the day, it doesn't drive your business. A business execution plan is a one-page document which has a strategic focus and is purely results driven. It's all about focusing on running your business. What are your goals for this 3 months? And what are your actions that you're going to do to start your process of achieving your strategy? And also, what are your KPIs and how are you measuring them? What are your benchmarks to actually achieve those? And how do you know if your business is successful, or how do you know if your business is falling behind where you can start to pick it up, and what areas you need to focus on? So you need to understand your business fully so that you can target those areas and start to take your business forward.
Following on from that, of course, if we don't know where we're heading, if you haven't got that execution plan, as David mentioned, you don't know what steps to take next, and you don't know what you want your marketing strategy to actually do for you. So where we come in is, once David has spoken with the client and developed their business execution plan, we then have a really clear way forward with what we want the marketing to do. So then we can go ahead and plan that marketing, and we can also then look at the marketing activity required in order to make that actually happen. So I'll talk about these guys again. When we were talking about strategy, we looked at the business as a whole. And of course, one of the areas that they were missing out on was the fact they'd been running for 12 years and had never sent any sort of communication back to the clients who had already purchased. It seems so simple, doesn't it? That, if someone's already bought from you, they already know, like, and trust you. So why not keep in touch with them and continue to sell to them and continue to let them know how you can help them? And we're talking about over 10,000 people on a database that had never been contacted again. So the first step is always to look at the pipelines, and we like to look at least, depending on what the business is trying to achieve, at least sort of 3 to 5 pipelines running at any one time. For them, it was Facebook predominantly. They were using Instagram, but not really necessary. It was more for fun and following. And then we had the email sequences, the newsletters, and that was pretty much it. So where to next when it comes to when it came to the pipelines with the Facebook advertising, we were very specific because they were running training sessions in particular areas. And it was important to target those specific areas and also the surrounding suburbs, whereas previously it was scattergun, which was wasting a lot of money. We wrote the where to next for the customer. We wrote a leveraged email sequence, which I'll give you the results for later, when the customer did buy, to actually take them through a 4 email sequence so that we can continue to sell to them other products and services, which was very wonderful. I'll give you those beautiful results. We had what you'll always find if you look at your analytics, that most of your business comes from clients who have already looked at you. So we put in a process for attraction and retargeting. We found that your average conversion rate for these guys was about 2.3, but when we ran a Facebook retargeting ad for people who had visited their website, that was when it would jump to 4.3%. And we found every week when we would look at the numbers that the highest percentage was always the returning visitors. So you can look on your Google Analytics, you can have a look at where your customers are coming from and what that percentage is, and then retargeting them through Facebook or LinkedIn ads or wherever you want to retarget them. And another thing we did, which worked very well, was we took the database from the past and we actually shoved it into the back of Facebook. So it became the starting point. So we were able to now start communicating back with those clients. It was a warm audience, and therefore we got results fairly quickly, which is the goal. Yeah. So lastly, the proof. They had no, interesting, 12 years in operation and had no testimonies to save their lives. So we did a lot of testimonial videos from past clients. We went out to the actual training and got new ones, videos as well as written. And of course, once you start putting that out there and asking people in their newsletter to give them Google reviews or jump on Facebook and review them, the momentum just started picking up. And it was only this morning that I spoke to the client and she said that she's getting a lot of referrals through now because people have jumped on and given reviews. So that's fantastic. So important to look when you're looking at your marketing strategy, all those different areas and opportunities for you to bring clients in from all areas. Beautiful. So I'll just run you through what the actual results were, because, and then we'll head over to questions. So as I mentioned, these are the sort of some of the measurements that we looked at. But Google Analytics pretty much told us everything we needed. Insights were across the Facebook insights, the Instagram insights, to tell us, to make sure that we were targeting in on the right aged client and the people who were actually engaging, not just following, the fans. The leads coming in versus conversions. So we were following the abandoned carts. We were looking at the open rates of the newsletters and such, which were really high. It was like 60+%, which told us straight away how loyal their customer base was, which also showed us that if they're that loyal, they're going to want to buy more. Yeah. So, and we also very importantly looked at the organic keyword growth hashtags and what was trending, because that way you're getting found and you don't have to pay for it, which was even more beautiful. So I'll just run you some of the results that we were able to give as a result of, so once David mentioned to me and looked at the numbers about the break even, etc., we worked out, yes, that it was too low. So we had to basically go up higher for the average sale per week. So ended up after 9 months, we had already given them a 40% increase on sales from the year before. So the opportunities, it's always interesting because David and I talk a lot about financials of our different companies, and we see the opportunities that arise, and it does our head in sometimes when when you know that you, like, that 40% could easily have been 80% if the client wasn't so scared to or could understand the numbers better. So, you know, if I was able to bring in David a lot earlier, that could easily have been 80% increase. So sometimes it's a shame and frustrating when we we see the potential and they can't. Those 15 bookings, which basically when we came in, they were doing 5 bookings per week. It went to on average 106 bookings, which was just massive. As David mentioned, of course, they didn't have the capacity. They didn't know the trigger. So it was a scramble very quickly, actually, as he said, by the second week, to then quickly, we had to jump on Facebook and create ads. Luckily, I've got a recruitment background for new trainers. So we found them some new trainers quickly. And very importantly, as David said, about knowing where your what the margins are. They wanted to jump into new suburbs, but some new suburbs because where they operated from they had to pay a leasing fee. They just weren't worth it, and that wouldn't have been recognized unless, you know, these conversations were being had. So it was important to show them what is profitable and what isn't. But we made sure that once we had the right suburbs to expand into, that our Facebook advertising did that promotion for them, which was great because we were able to fill their classes fast. COVID hit, so we transitioned them to virtual training, which we were already luckily on the way to doing anyway as another form of income. So the email sequence, actually, here's a question for you, Jackie. We set up an email sequence with 4 emails, and within 2 weeks, we'd already returned $2,093 in revenue. How much would you expect to pay? So that's for the month. How much would you be happy to pay for the month for that, to get that sort of return? So basically yes, go on.
I was going to say in dollar figures.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably up to a third of that.
Beautiful. Good on you, mate. So a third would be about $600. It's cost her $120 to make $2,093. And that was only 3 weeks. So it'll be interesting to see next week, that will go up again. And this is a completely leveraged email sequence that they don't have to touch. It's all automatic. So good answer. Well done. Now, 80%, so we track and measure everything. 80% of their business is coming from the Facebook ads, which is wonderful. And revenue, thankfully, which is wonderful. It's the highest it's ever been in 12 years, which is fabulous. And lastly, underneath us here is one more lovely thing. All of this tremendous return for only $25,000 across the 9 months, which was absolutely ridiculous, actually. So just to reiterate, the ads per week are costing them $60 to $70. That's how targeted they are. And the average spend per client, which thankfully now David has helped with, is $231. So you can see that when you're only spending $70 a week and getting those sort of returns, it's a no-brainer to just continue. But I mean, the poor client still isn't sure what the hell's going on, but is just glad that the coffers are filling. And I spoke to her this morning, actually, and she's just about to put on another 3 staff. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next. But yes, that brings us to the end of our conversation today and our case study. David, would you like to give a final thought? And then we are happy to open to any questions you may have. And then we might have some questions here as well. David.
I think, my final thought on the whole, especially this client, is that the focus wasn't there. They didn't know where they wanted to take the business. They, as you said, there was a previous coach before me. So I went in with a bit of expectation about their knowledge, which they didn't quite have. So I think from the point of view of the way we operate, if we go into clients with no expectation about their knowledge base, and we help them to build up their knowledge, because knowledge is key in running a business. So understanding where you want to go, but also understanding how to get there are 2 main things that we need to focus on.
So we open the floor. If there are any questions, yell them out.
Okay, I've got one.
Oh, fabulous.
At this time, as we're sort of coming out of COVID, that's for us in Queensland, not so much in Victoria at the moment. I'm wondering if you can tell me if it's a better time right now to be creating awareness, still staying with awareness type strategies, or start to switch to more of a selling, pitching strategy?
What a great question. Look, what I personally believe, and David, I'll let you answer this as well. I really am of the ilk that come October, there's going to be a big disparity between businesses. There's going to be the ones who have gone really hard right now and have built up some really good cash reserves. And there's going to be the ones who've still got their heads in the sand and aren't doing anything. Okay. And they're not going to last. It upsets me, but I really honestly feel there's going to be a massive divide in the market. So all of our clients right now, they've marketed the whole way through. So they are flat out now, which is wonderful. Poor buggers. But now we're saying to them, just sell, sell, sell. So even when there was a new client this morning who jumped on the phone and he was like, oh, I should just slowly select. No, work out what is relevant, work out what you can sell, and start to promote it in a strategic way, you know, but get it out there and get it out there hard, because now is the time to make hay while the sun shines. It really is, especially for your industry, Jackie. People need you so badly now, and they're still realizing it. But you've got to educate them right now that they need it, and you're the one for them. Like, and a lot. The more you give that to them, yes, definitely. David.
Yeah, I totally agree with Michelle, and I think awareness and selling go hand in hand, and so you need people to be aware of you to actually get them to know, like, trust you to actually buy from you. And I think, you know, Jackie, you've said one of the main points of this juncture in the COVID journey is there is changes between states. There are different levels of control, and what we need to do is, depending on what market you're trading in, is to focus your energies into the right message for those markets. So, for example, if you were focusing on Victoria, your message will be different to Queensland, who's opening up more now. I think the other point that Michelle made about September, October, obviously JobKeeper at this stage anyway is slated to end in September. Now, what implication will that have, and especially for you, Jackie, on people who are in business, have employees that they've kept on, don't get JobKeeper anymore. If they don't have the cash flow to support that employee, then those employees are going to lose their job, and there's going to be another spike in unemployment unless the government changes the way they're operating their model. So at the moment, there's this gap. And the other thing, with that, is that the confidence in the market will change as well. So what we have to do at this stage is create that confidence in business owners so that they are confident to ride a second wave of whatever that might be, whether it be a second wave of COVID, or whether it be a second wave of economic shutdown, or whether it be a second wave of just industries all around. So focus on both, but make sure you're targeting the message to the market.
And that's actually a really good lead on. Thank you, David. Is one of the questions, quite a few of the clients are asking is, do I, and it sort of goes to your question, Jackie, is that should I, you know, the old niching, right? Do I focus on particular clients or particular industries, or, you know, and right now what we've really found is that that's exactly what we've done with a lot of our clients, is we not so much niching, but brand positioned them for specific industries. So, and it's the industries that we've recognized are growing. Okay, so it's another thing to look at. Like, even for us, we have a list of industries that we're focusing on our board here, because we know that they're the ones that are doing well now and that we can help to do even better. So there's no, whilst we have, you know, we've worked with the event companies before, David and I, and right now they're in a little bit of pain. So we're helping them through that, and they'll come back. But that's not where the marketing focus is going. So very important to look at those industries that you can help the most now, and target them. And plus they've got the cash and the opportunity. Does that make sense with relevance? The other thing is, somebody asked me yesterday, Michelle, with everything that's going on with Facebook and the big companies pulling out, etc., because of their stance right now, do I think that Facebook could be in danger? And look, I'm always looking at this sort of stuff, and we're always, as a team, looking at other opportunities for how, you know, what's new in the market, what can we jump on first. And one of the things that we're loving right now are the LinkedIn events. So I just wanted to share that with everybody, because right now across all our clients, you might not know about it, but on LinkedIn, you can actually invite your connections, and it's very specific. and it's you can invite by industry, by state, by company, and it's a really wonderful way to gather a whole lot of warm leads. So for example, for this webinar, we had 12 people click through there, all fantastic companies who now we can go back with the recording and share some knowledge. So it's a wonderful way to identify who's actually interested in your products and services, connect with your connections on a different level because you're showing your expertise, and another avenue. So always be aware that, and again, that's why we have so many pipelines and why it's so good that David is looking at everything on the profit and loss and balance sheet, because you're always wanting to identify potential opportunities, threats within the business where we might have to cut back or we can jump on to grow further. Yes. Any other questions from you, Jackie? You're lucky to have us one-on-one.
I did I did have another one. It's not specifically about LinkedIn or anything. It's more about what I call warm calling at the moment. It's people I'm phoning around, have been phoning around, past contacts that I haven't conversed with in a while. You mentioned earlier about past clients, you know, that company in that scenario had so many people that hadn't heard from them again. So these people I'm phoning, just really a check-in. How are you going? How's the business emerging out of COVID? And discussing, seeing if they've got any HR issue that they want to discuss. And I am taking a real non-sales approach to it. I'm even with some of the calls, I'm sort of picking my situation, and some of them I'm telling them about my ebook and sending that to them. Some I am sending the explainer video for our offsite model, which is what I really want to sell. And others I'm, ending the phone call amicably, just if there's anything I could discuss and help them out with, any suggestions. So they're really a check-in sort of call. And so I haven't been approaching them with any real sales. And I guess that's where my question before came from. Should I actually start trying to ramp up the selling focus on that, or with phone calls at the moment? Should it really still be just awareness?
Great question. I've really come to the conclusion, if you're going to do any sort of, everybody's busy, okay? So if you're going to do any sort of marketing or calling or touching base, you want to have some sort of intent, okay? I mean, it's all good to check in with people, etc. However, the more focused that you can be and the more relevant to that particular client. So even if you're calling, say, a manufacturing company, if you go in with, oh, hi, John, listen, I've just had a client who's had these issues with contracts, with, fair work, with data. Give them some examples, because they probably don't even know that those issues exist for them right now. And this is where your expertise comes in. And even if you haven't had a client, it doesn't matter, how you can help them. Because what that will do is show that you care, but also that you have relevant solutions to what they need now, rather than, nothing annoys me more, and David, I'll let you answer this as well, when someone just rings me for a chat. Sorry, but I'm busy. Like, that's nice, but I've got friends. If you want something or you're trying to sell me something, get to the point. From a business owner point of view. That's just me. David?
Yeah. So I guess I'm opening the call more about the purpose of my call is, the purpose of my call is to, I can't remember what I say, check in and see how everyone's faring, emerging from COVID. If there's any HR issues that I can assist with. I'm here totally obligation free, really just calling around our past clients and contacts to see if we can help in any way. That's sort of how I'm opening it. So it's very typical me, low pressure.
What do you feel, David?
I'd say that's no pressure. It's a conversation, and what you, as a business owner, you don't want a conversation. Yeah, you don't want to make a new friend. You want to make either, from your perspective, you want to make someone aware of the problem that you solve. From the client's perspective, they want to know that you understand what their problem is and that you can solve it. And that doesn't mean you have to go into the salesy mode, but what it does mean is that the questioning has to be targeted around what you can achieve for them, what problem you would solve for them if they did something. So having a conversation, you might as well be at a party, hi, how are you going? Versus hi, as Michelle said, I've had a client who's had this problem in your industry. I'm just doing a survey around people in the same industry. Are you having the same problem? Or something a little bit more direct than just g'day, how are you? Because if someone rang me up and said, hi, it's so-and-so from whatever business, just wondering how you're going, my first answer would be, oh, great, thanks. Because there's no targeting. Whereas if you start with I'm focusing on HR, there's been a lot of issue because of the JobKeeper. Some people are worried about how they're keeping staff on. Are you interested in keeping staff on? Now, obviously, who you're talking to will depend on what level that conversation is at. So if you know them and you've met them before, it'd be at a different level to a cold call.
Okay.
But that type of a little bit more, I'll call it a little bit more aggressive, but I guess it's not as passive is more the point.
Yeah.
Great. Just to give you an example, I have a list up on my board here of potential clients that I'd really love to work with. So one of them I called the other day. Now you're calling because you care, not because, yes, you want to do business, but of course your number one thing is you care first. So this particular client I knew had recently had a baby, not him, his wife, but so I actually called to just check in. Yes. But I did say, I know we've spoken in the past about this and you've talked about, growing and, so I just want to check in. I know you've just had the baby, but where are you up to on that? So he knew, even though I was caring, that that's exactly what I was phoning for, you see? So we did talk, we did have the chat, blah, blah. And of course, 3 weeks later, and at the time he said, no, I'm getting my head around, cool, whatever, any questions? He asked a couple of questions. Lovely, goodbye. 3 weeks later, he's called to go, okay, I'm ready. But see, it was that instigation of the call that got him thinking. It's almost a bit evil, isn't it? But that's it has to, whether you're networking, whether you're meeting people on Zoom, whatever you're doing, do it with intent. Otherwise, we all just waste, and there's no time to be wasting right now, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So be a bit more targeted rather than just what's your biggest HR issue right now.
Mate, they don't even know they've got an issue or what the issue might be.
Yep.
So, yes. Yeah. Okay. Because you've got to remember that people are going through such different emotions at different stages. And where they are, they might not even know that danger is coming over the hill. You see? So this is where you can truly be. It's a bit like the accountant, isn't it, David? The trusted advisor who preempts the call of before tax time. You want to preempt the Fair Work challenge that they're about to get if they don't do something. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Fabulous. David, shall I get you to close us up today?
Sure. I think, from a business perspective, I think there's a lot to concentrate on, and now is a great opportunity. So don't see this as a coming out of COVID. How do I get out of COVID? See it as this is the next phase of my journey now. What does my business look like in the future, and how am I going to get there? A few business owners have spoken to me about planning and said, you know, why should we plan? There's so many unknowns. But if you don't plan now, when? And if you don't have a plan, how are you making your decision? So the sooner you plan, regardless of how many knowns and unknowns there are, at least you're moving forward and at least you've got a direction. So, and I think, you know, focusing on the commercial side and the planning side, and then focusing on the marketing and how you get more people through the door, and how you, you know, use those, not use those people is probably not the right word, but how do you make sure that those people are getting value out of what you provide, and making sure you get references out of them, and testimonials is what it's all about. So you continue to grow into the future, and make sure that you're aware of that you're prepared for any issue that may come up in the future, whether that be an economic, whether it be another shutdown, whether it be another wave of COVID. How are you going to prepare yourself so if that does eventuate, that you're prepared and that you can continue to move forward?
Brilliant. Brilliant. So thank you all for joining us today, and thank you especially Jackie, and thank you David, and
thanks Michelle.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks guys.
See ya.
Ciao for now.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.